Hey, everybody. All right. So listen, I got to talk to you about partnerships and, you know, and I don't necessarily mean strictly in the legal context because obviously partnerships is a particular entity structure for a business. Um, I'm speaking more of even the partnerships that occur when you're in the in a limited liability company. I mean, you just have the members, general partners, GPs, as they are calling, some of these, and they're using the terms incorrectly. But I'll tell you, folks, there's really a lot of well, people don't think through partnerships all that well, and I'm going to give you some actual advice from deals from partnerships that I've been on. Um, Number one thing you need to do with a partnership is plan the divorce before you have the wedding. And that's what that really entails, is having a tough conversation with your partners as to who's really going to do what. You first have to always ask yourself the question, why am I entering into this partnership? And sometimes the reason why you're entering into this partnership is because you lack the confidence on your own to do what you think the other partner is capable of doing. And let me just tell you something. They're thinking the same thing. They're having the same insecurities that you are. And it's not good when you get into the partnership and then find out that both of you lack the talents and abilities that you were hoping the other person would bring to the table. So you want to have those types of tough conversations ahead of time. And another thing has to do with experience. When you sit down there in those initial conversations and you start talking to the other partner about, can you do this? Can you do that? If they start yesing you, oh yeah, I can do that. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, oh yeah, I specialize in that. Get really granular, get really specific. And let me tell you one of the best ways to do this. And this is something we offer our clients. It's all on our coaching platform, is just a simple questionnaire that they fill out. And it comes to me in the form of all the questions that I ask them. And then from that, I draft on their behalf an MOU, a memorandum of understanding. It's not a binding document, but it is a really great tool for getting people to have the tough conversation. We really ask the questions like, what are you bringing? What assets you bring? What do you have? Do you have any background that we need to know about? All those types of questions that we really need to understand in order to make sure that we're getting into the right partnership. So that's something you always want to talk about. Talk about the divorce before the wedding. Draft a memorandum of understanding, non-binding, but it opens a lot of opens a lot of dialogue as to what's going on that deal, and always ask yourself the question: do I need a partner? Why do I need a partner? And especially, I hear these people like, well, I hired this lawyer and I'm going to give him 5% of the deal so he'll take care of all the legal work. No, don't ever do that. My advice to my students is hoard your equity. Hoard it. That's not your equity to give away. That's your grandchildren's equity. Don't give it away to some slave hound, some wage hound, some clock watcher like a lawyer. All of those guys can be paid for by a fee. Don't pay them with equity. You're not valuing your equity very well if you give it to a guy who can charge $500 an hour for 3 hours worth of work. Okay? So just keep that in mind. All right. The final thing I'm going to talk to you about, and this is kind of a, this might get a little complicated. I hope I can explain it so that you can clearly understand it. And I'll use an actual real life example because this is what happened to me. So we entered into a partnership, 5-person partnership, and we formed an LLC. And that LLC went out and bought multifamily property. And the first deal we bought, our little LLC owned 20% of the property. So we owned 20% of the property, but we didn't really own it. The partnership owned it. And then when the partnership received distributions, then those distributions would be distributed within the partnership. Okay? So if I needed to raise money, or if I needed to maybe, if I needed to, sell off part of my interest because I wanted some dough in my pocket, I couldn't do it because I didn't own that property interest. I owned an interest in a partnership that owned the property interest. And I thought to myself, that's a problem for me. And so what I ended up doing on the next deal that we did, I said, the partnership's not going to own our interest. We will all own our interest individually in the property. We are a partnership, and the partnership still is the manager of that property, but our membership interest, the economic interest, because it was an LLC, the economic interest is in the property. And therefore, if I needed to sell off or do whatever I had to do, I'd follow the operating agreement of that property as far as what I can do to transfer my membership rights. And that's how I got around it. So that's another thing you want to keep in mind is, how can I get out of this partnership if I don't like it anymore? All right. So that first scenario that I painted, I was stuck. The second scenario that I just showed you, I was able to get out and transfer my membership interest or do whatever I wanted to do with it. So that is how I want you to think about partnerships. Folks, always ask yourself the question, why do I need this partnership? Now, I have a, we're putting together the H2A, the hotel to apartment conversion summit, program where we brought together 25 people in a cohort. So that cohort goes out and buys property, and people within that cohort can jump into each other's deals and what have you. So that is one thing that our focus is really going to be on being a true joint venture partnership when we go into these particular deals. And the key about that, and there's a Jeff Lerman. Jeff Lerman, he's an attorney out of San Francisco, and he's built up a practice specializing in joint venture partnerships. He does a great job. I had him on my podcast many, many years ago. Had him at my event in California when I spoke there, and it was great because I spoke all weekend long. He gets up for 2 hours and just confirms everything that I said. That's a good presenter. So, but he specializes in joint venture partnerships, and the key thing about those partnerships is everyone is assigned a role and responsibility, and that's what has to happen. So make sure that if you're really truly doing a joint venture partnership, you want to make sure that everybody knows what their roles are, and in the cohort, the framework tends to be an asset management role, a property management role, an investor relations management role, a renovations role, and then a financial accounting role. So those are typically the 5 aspects that you have a partnership. If you have more than 5 partners, well, then you just put some people on more than one task, and there's nothing wrong with doing it that way either. So that's partnerships can be great, and sometimes they can be just the worst scenarios you could ever imagine. And I don't have enough time to tell you some horror stories about partnerships I've been in. That's why I consider myself not only a legal expert in real estate, multifamily investing partnerships, but also from a personal level and a professional level, I've had some doozies that have really been amazing. I'm not even going to share it with you. It was a shocker. But there was one where when we finally broke up and went our separate ways, we never spoke to each other after about 10 years. And we found out later that 10 years later that this guy, one of the partners in the group, had actually transitioned to a woman. Divorced his wife, kids don't speak to him. It's sad. That's the sad part. But and I worked with this guy for 3 straight years, almost every day. Never once ever suspected anything. And then I find out that he made the transition, and that was an eye opener. That kind of gave you a little thought about partnerships. If you don't even know that about your partner, wow, just wow. So all right, that's all I got. If you're in my hotel to apartment cohort program, I'll see you on Thursday. And then also, let me see, what else are we doing? I've got another webinar coming up. Make sure you go to multifamilyos.com, click on the box, fill in the blanks, give me your email address, and I'll send you emails letting you know exactly where I'm going, what I'm doing. So, all right, everybody, thanks so much for coming by. Great to see you, and we will chat again later.